Hey, Brennan here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Well, it is Sunday morning and the NFL draft is in the books. I'm here sipping some coffee, taking a look at the draft board. That's what you're seeing here on the screen, and I'm going to jump on here and do a 4-round rookie mock. This is going to be a super flex PPR non-tight end draft here. But yeah, man, we got the landing spots. We got the draft capital, the final pieces for us to go into our rookie drafts and you know, pick the players that we want for our dynasty rosters, man. So I've done a couple of these actually last night. I jumped on and did some mock drafts, and the one thing I did come away with were, you know, the first 8 or 9 picks are going to be pretty chalky with the same players in a very different order, depending on who you're drafting with. But I think after that, it's going to get a lot of fun at the end of the first round, and then in the second round too. So you know, I always go into these mock drafts taking the players that I want, that the ones that I've scouted, that I believe in. But you know, landing spots matter. You know, draft capital matters because these players are going to get opportunity. But we're going to have fun nonetheless. So figure we give you some early values here. We're going to run through this really quick to make this a really nice quick video for you. And feel free to leave some comments as well. You know, what do you think about some of these picks? I'm just kind of flying blind here and having some fun this morning drinking coffee. All right, I'm going to go with the first pick, probably in most super flex leagues. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here. He was obviously the first pick in the draft. No surprise there. You know, it's a quarterback, right? PPR, people are going to be grabbing quarterbacks early and often. However, we have elite wide receivers in this draft, so I think there's going to be some you know, mock drafts where you could see Marvin Harrison coming off #1. I did one last night, and Malik Neighbors was the #2 person off the board. So it's going to be all over the place, you know, depending on your league mates, okay? But I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels here with the second pick too. Okay, he brings that rushing upside, good landing spot with Washington. So I'm pretty excited about, you know, if you were to get him on your roster, you know, I think that would be, you know, you got some fun upside there to look forward to. All right. I'm going to go with here. I'm going to definitely go with Marvin Harrison Jr. All right. I'm going to take him #3. Drake May was my #1 quarterback in the draft. So people on my dashboard subscription service and the people who know me on my podcast are probably like, yo, man, Drake May was your #1. I get it. New England kind of scares me. They're really rebuilding there. I hope he sits. I'm going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. here at the #3, and then I'm going to double down, all right? And I'm going to get the next, you know, elite wide receiver here in Malik Neighbors. I love Malik Neighbors. He is going to be an explosive player, decent landing spot with the Giants, you know, should be a focal point for targets and just be a target hog next year. And sometimes that production of just being fed the ball will result in some really nice fantasy upside. All right, here's where I'm going to take Drake May. All right, like I said, he's going to New England, but they are really rebounding. We're going to pick 2 players here later in the draft, and Polk and Javon Baker, you know, who's going to, you know, I'm glad that they went into the wide receiver room and got him. I think that was you know, really important to get him some young, you know, wide receivers for him to build around. Looking at the draft board here, you know, there's a couple ways you can go, and I'm going to go with Rome Odunze right here. All right, again, I'm going to take the 3rd best wide receiver in the draft. He could arguably be the wide receiver 1 of the draft, so we don't know. We won't know for a little while. So again, a super flex league. JJ McCarthy, I think, is going to be one of the most you know, polarizing players, right? Either you love JJ McCarthy or you don't. I wasn't really high on him, but the landing spot you have to love with the weapons around him, the coaching staff, the scheme. So, you know, there you go. You have to take JJ McCarthy here early. I've seen him as high. I saw a mock draft last night where he went #3. So again, we're going to get to the point here with the 8th and 9th pick where that's where, again, like I said, we're going to have all these same players. You know, I'm looking at the quarterbacks right now. I'm not going to, you know, really, I know that the Knicks and the Penix got first-round draft capital. I just can't go there. Too early for a running back for me. So, you know, you're looking at the board again with the wide receivers, and I'm going to go with Brock Bowers, I think, here. The landing spot, you know, some people love the landing spot. Some people don't. Goes to the Raiders. I really feel, you know, you got Michael Mayer there, so, you know, he probably takes a ding in value. But I think really, you know, he is going to be, you know, really put out wide. He's going to get his hands on the ball. He's a weapon. So, you know, the Brock Bowers in you know, in Las Vegas was kind of a head scratcher for a lot of people, but you know, they took the best guy on the board, so I get it, right? So this is, like I said, at the 108, these are the players that you're going to see coming off the board. Now, again, it's a super flex league. Looking at my draft board here, you could go Penix, but he's going to have to wait a while, right? Bo Nix could be, again, probably the next quarterback coming off the board, but it's just a little too early for me. I was not a Bo Nix, believer. Still a little early for me for running back with the value. So I'm looking at the wide receiver room here because after Brock Bowers, the tight end value, and it really goes down. And I'm going to go with Xavier Worthy here, man. You talk about a landing spot that people are going to get all juiced up about, man. Xavier Worthy with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, the explosiveness. I'm not a Rashee Rice guy. I think he is a little bit overvalued. I think Xavier Worthy comes in again, just like these other receivers are going to get fed targets a ton. All right. And after that, I'm going to stick with the wide receiver room. All right. And I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, decent landing spot, good quarterback. He's going to play with Kurt down there, Christian Kirk, and should have an opportunity really to get on the field. All right. So again, looking at the board here, still, this is where I think at the 111 and 112, you're going to start to see running backs come off the board. All right. But there's still a lot of good wide receivers left on the board too. So again, kind of, this is where it's going to get really fun for people. And I think I'm just going to continue a little bit longer with the, No, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to take Trey Benson. All right. I think, again, what's going to happen with the running back room thing, I think he got a great landing spot here at the Cardinals. Okay. He's going to be with James Conner. James Conner is really a Jag. He's a declining asset right now. So Trey Benson on that team with Marvin Harrison Jr., and, he's got some good pieces. Trey McBride, they have a good passing game. Kyle Murray, running the ball. So he's not going to probably get a lot of stack boxes down there. But again, here we are with the running back, right? We got 3 running backs with day 1 and day 2 draft capital, right? No day 1 draft capital, rather, but day 2 draft capital. So we got 4 running backs in day 2. And day 3 running backs, folks, I'm telling you, are not great. They're going to be part of a committee. They're going to be backup, but they're not going to be players that I'm going to reach for. And really, one of the landing spots for Marshawn Lloyd going to the Green Bay Packers isn't great. So you're either going to see Trey Benson come off the board here, you're going to see Jonathan Brooks or Blake Corum. But I'm going to continue next with the wide receiver room. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, Ricky Pearsall is getting round 1 draft capital going to the 49ers. Now, there's a lot of talk at the 49ers. What are they doing in their quarterback or in their wide receiver room? Brandon Ayuk, is he going to get, traded or whatever? But I think they're building for the future. They took another wide receiver in this draft as well. But Ricky Pearsall, great route runner, great hands, body control, big riser heading into the, into the draft cycle here. So again, I'm going to take, so there is your first round, everybody. So round 2, all right, it's going to get fun here, all right. I'm going to take Bo Nix here, all right. As much as I'm not a fan, he is going to get the opportunity. PPR league, again, Denver, he's going to get the opportunity. Does he start right off the bat? Probably. Should he start off the bat? Probably not. I think he's a little bit raw. Excuse me, it's coffee time. It's early in the morning on Sunday, so I'm going to be drinking my coffee throughout this show. But anyway, again, this is where he's probably going to be coming off the board. I could see him coming off the board in round 1, actually, as well. But I'm just not a believer. There's no way that all 6 of these round 1 quarterbacks are going to hit, right? I'll bet you 3 don't even make it in 3 years from now. So it is a risky proposition, all right? So I'm going to take here next one of my favorite receivers in the draft, and I'm going Ladd McConkey. Talk about a great landing spot going to the Chargers. I arguably have said, if you listen to my podcast or listen to any of my shows here on the YouTube channel, Ladd McConkey, arguably is one of the best route runners in the class, and I'm going to get him. Wide receivers, all the teams that I, win in fantasy all have great wide receivers. So I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey, the landing spot. Going to be another guy who gets a ton of production. All right, now I'm going to go back to the running back room, I think, and I'm going to go with Jonathan Brooks. I'm just doing this on the fly, guys. I did not pre-pick these players, but again, I'm just having some fun here. Give you an early mock just to, have something for you to see the day after the NFL draft. But Jonathan Brooks, decent landing spot, Carolina Panthers. I don't love the team, but Miles Sanders was a bust last year. And I just think that Jonathan Brooks, if he can come back from his ACL injury, I think he has the ability to, really be an RB1 on that team. Like I said, the running backs, not a great class this year. We all know that. And there's only going to be 2 or 3 or 4 maybe that really get their hands on the ball, I think, consistently. And it's going to be Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks at the top of the list, given the draft capital here in day 2. All right. So I got my board on my other screen here. That's what I'm kind of looking at as I turn my head here. Xavier Legette, round 1 draft capital. I just don't know. I'd love the player a little bit, but the late breakout, is he a 1 year, 1 year wonder? But he's got that round 1 draft capital, so he's enticing here. But I'm going to go with Keon Coleman. All right, as much as it pains me really to take him here, only because I question if he's an elite route runner. But you can't ignore the landing spot, right? The Bills, right? Everybody has been waiting. Which wide receivers are the Bills going to take? They trade down a couple times. They could have Xavier Worthy, but they went with the big-bodied, ex-receiver to rebuild, around the room, for Josh Allen. So I'm going to take him here with that great landing spot as well. So it's not a tight end premium league, so we're going to push that down. Ben Sinnott, got a good landing spot, but I think you're going to hold off on him. Again, you got one more wide receiver, you got one more quarterback here in the room, Michael Penix Jr. going to Atlanta, right? It is a PPR. This is about where he, I think, is going to come off the board. So I'm going to slot him in here. You're going to have to wait. All right. I was not a Penix fan. He's not somebody that I'm going to take, but I'm trying to make this mock draft somewhere where I feel like these players overall are going to go on an average of rookie running backs, right? Or a rookie mock draft. So I think this is where he's going to land. I think people are going to be scared off, just because he's behind Kirk Cousins. And, I applaud the organization for believing in Penix and letting him marinate on the bench. I think that's needs to be done more in the NFL, but they're forward-thinking organization, and they're just going to let him sit and learn behind Kirk Cousins. So good for them. All right. I'm going to take Blake Corum here. All right. He's my last of the running backs that I think I'm going to get excited about. Now, he's like a Kyron Williams clone, and, they were excited to get him. And I could see, Kyron and Blake, being a 50-50 timeshare, and but they're going to get their hands on the ball. And Blake Corum, he was my RB1 coming into the class. I think he's got the best footwork as far as any running back coming into the class. So this is about where I see him coming off the board at the middle of the second round. So looking at the running back board, we got Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, maybe. But I'm going to go back to the wide receiver room here, and is another player that I don't know. He's a boomer bust for me, but I'm going to take a Danye Mitchell here going to the Colts. I kind of like the landing spot. This is about where I see him coming off the board. Pittman's going to get, he's the wide receiver 1 on that team. So Mitchell falls into, a really good situation where he can come in, be the wide receiver 2 of that team. Alec Pierce takes a, hit and value. Josh Downs is there too. Crowded wide receiver room, but the landing spot with an ascending, Richardson quarterback, I think this is kind of where he is going to go. The good landing spot there as well. So I'm going to take here, I think Marshawn Lloyd. This might be where he comes off the board. This might be a little early. The landing spot is a little questionable for me. They just signed Josh Jacobs to a 4-year deal. But again, this is where I think there's a huge drop-off, probably really in the running back room. There's 1 or 2 more. Jalen Wright going to Miami's interesting. Bucky Irving to Tampa. But they're going to be timeshare guys. Marshawn Lloyd, is a great backup. If something were to happen to Josh Jacobs, he's probably going to get fed the rock. This is where I could see him coming off the board. It might be a little early, but hey, man, guys, leave comments down below, man. I'd love to hear your thoughts on here, where I'm early, where I'm, too late. Again, this is like an instant reaction show here. I'm excited to put out for you. So let's see here. I'm looking at the board here. All right, let's go with Xavier Legette. Round 1 draft capital. What are we going to do, right? He's probably going to come off the board. He's going to get a ton of opportunity. Jonathan Mingo looks like he might be a bust. So, Legette's going to come in. Bryce Young desperately needs a wide receiver 1, someone to really focus on. So the landing spot's pretty solid, even though I'm questionable about the whole team. I wasn't a Bryce Young fan, but, again, going back to Legette, he's going to come in with the opportunity with that round 1 draft capital to really, I think, get a lot of targets. All right. So I know it's not a tight end premium league, but there is a huge drop off after the tight end position. And I love the landing spot. I'm going to take Ben Sinnott here, going to Washington. Should get immediate production. Zach Ertz is there right now, so a great person to learn from. The question is whether Sinnott is going to be, how he's going to be utilized. A lot of people think he might be kind of a fullback, hybrid H-back, or is he going to be put out wide? One of the most athletic tight ends in the class. So again, I think there's 2 tight ends that are going to go in the first 2 rounds, and after that, I think there's going to be a big fade for quite a while. So I think this is where I can see Ben Sinnott coming off the board. All right. There's no quarterbacks left, really. Spencer Rattler, as much as I like him going to New Orleans, I don't think he's going to be a round 2 guy. Most likely mid-third, we're going to see him come off the board. So running backs here, we got Jalen Wright going to Miami, Bucky Irving going to Tampa, Will Shipley going to my Eagles. But I'm going to take a player here that is one of my faves and kind of on an island with Malachi Corley, at least in my circles of listening to my podcast and on my dashboard subscription service. Everyone knows that I've been a Malachi Corley fan. I love the landing spot going to the Jets, playing with Aaron Rodgers. He's got Wilson there to be the wide receiver 1. He comes in and, he's a different receiver that's, around his skill set. We got a lot of tall, X and Z receivers, but this kid, man, get the ball in his hands with his yak ability. He can really do some damage. And, the Jets really needed a wide receiver. So I'm pretty excited that they, basically, got him, and he should get a ton of targets. And if Rodgers stays healthy, watch out. All right. So I'm going to go back to the receiver room again. All right. And I want to take Jalen Polk, man. Again, this is going to be a very polarizing player. Okay. Because people think he was overdrafted. New England took him in the 2nd round. All right. And kind of, it was like, whoa, Jalen Polk, right? A lot of people had him buried. There's a lot of other receivers here that, got that, but he got early round 2 capital. Great possession receiver for Drake May. I think he's going to be on the field a lot. So pretty excited about his opportunity. And I think he's a little underrated. He's not, the flashy, highlight film wide receiver, but sometimes, man, all you need is that good possession, strong receiver with good hands. He's got some good yak ability. I think he's going to be a security blanket for Drake May. I'm excited about his opportunity in New England. All right, probably somebody I faded a little too long, and this is a player that I think is going to probably be more of a mid-2nd round guy, and that is Roman Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got to love the landing spot. Any wide receiver that goes to the Steelers, people get juiced up about him. Why not? They seem to produce wide receivers. You got Russell Wilson there throwing him the ball for a year. You got Pickens on the outside. So Roman Wilson is going to be able to come in, be that, basic, slot receiver who's going to come in and, could get a ton of targets. All right. So excited about him. All right. So here we go, are entering round 3. All right, this is how it feels every year for round 3. This is where it gets a little dicey. All the premier talent is pretty much off the board. Still some good players. So this is where it's going to get a lot of fun. The tight end, we're still not ready to take Spencer Rattler. Looking at my tight end board here, just nobody I'm really excited about. So it's either a running back or wide receiver, and I am going to go with Jalen Wright. All right, so Jalen Wright here is probably about where he's going to go. Now, you're going to question, oh man, he went to Miami and Achon, what are we going to do? But, the Miami Dolphins just went speed, right? This was the fastest running back in the class. But there's going to be a timeshare. But again, if something were to happen to a Chen, and some people are concerned about his durability, Jalen Wright might get an opportunity. Mostert's still on the roster, but, again, decent landing spot. If, maybe they're concerned about the health of Achane, him being so small, him being able to, stay on the field. I think Jalen Wright needs to learn a little bit as well. He came from an offense at Tennessee that was very vanilla and basic, had a lot of non-stacked boxes. So, but again, the speed and pass catching ability, that's what Miami does. That's the players that they kind of look for. All right. So, all right, I'm going to go here with Mr. Troy Franklin next. Okay. People were a little bummed out that he got late. He wasn't a day 2 pick, but they snagged him really early day 3. So most people are looking at him as a day 2, but he's paired back up with Bo Nix in Denver. Should be a really fun receiver. It's pretty crowded room. Marvin Mims, a guy I'd like from last year, is there. Cortland Sutton. So, again, Bo Nix is most likely going to start. He shouldn't, but I'm sure they're going to throw him out there. So they have a little bit of a chemistry already. So I can see maybe Troy Franklin having a good time, playing with Bo Nix. All right. So a player that I'm looking at here, Bucky Irving, maybe Shipley, Ray Davis or whatever. But there's another player that, again, I think a lot of people are probably wondering why he hasn't come off the board. And I'm going to take Javon Baker here, okay? So, again, New England going back to the wide receiver room to help Drake May. Him and Polk are going to be starters right off the at week 1. Should be great. I mean, Javon Baker, you watch his highlight film. You love the hands, the body control, all that stuff at the catch point. The question is, can he create space at the NFL level? Can he be a wide receiver 1? I'm not sure. But he's going to be given every opportunity. And again, like I said at the beginning of the show, man, every team that I, is successful with, I always have good wide receivers. All right, so Javon Baker coming off the board here. All right, I think I'm going to go with Bucky Irving now. All right, I've never been a real big, I guess, Rachaad White fan, right? So Bucky Irving can come in again. He could be, now Tampa Bay has 2 backs, right, that are kind of similar, good pass catching backs. Obviously Rachaad White's a little bigger. He probably is going to be moving between the tackles. But again, all these teams are going to a committee. So Bucky Irving, if something were to happen to Rachaad White, he should get volume down there. And again, they might utilize him a lot out of the backfield. And as we know, we love, the running backs that have the PPR opportunity. I think he caught 60 balls in Oregon last year. So, he could be used in that way. All right. So still tight ends, maybe I'm still going to fade the tight ends. I think here, if it was a tight end premium league, I think there would be some tight ends coming off the board here, but because it's not, don't see any tight ends on the board that are really going to get immediate, production as a starter. So I'm going to go with Jermaine Burton. I'm going to go back to the room here again. Now this is all going to hinge on T. Higgins. I think he's on a 1-year deal, so they're looking at Jermaine Burton as maybe the replacement for T. Higgins. So I can see this being about the area where he's going to be coming off the board. With the idea of maybe not production year 1. But, you want that Joe Burrow. You want that guy opposite of, Jamar Chase. So I could see Jermaine Burton here going in the middle of the 3rd round here. All right, I'm going to take a guy that I really like. He was a sleeper of mine before the NFL draft this weekend, and that is Mr. Luke McCaffrey, man. All right, I put a tweet out on X, too, that if, he was mocked by Dane Brugler from The Athletic going to the 49ers in the 4th round, but, he gets round 3 draft capital, day 2 draft capital for Luke McCaffrey going to Washington. You got Jahan Dotson there. You got, Scary Terry. Ben Sinnott is there now and stuff like that. So, it's a crowded room, but, Jaden Daniels, and sometimes when those new receivers come in with a new quarterback, they kind of form a bond a little bit. So Luke McCaffrey is an underrated receiver. He's 6'2", with like 200 pounds. You go watch his highlight film. I got one on this YouTube channel. Go check it out, man. It's pretty cool. The dude's got some serious hands and physicality, and who wouldn't want the McCaffrey bloodline, right? I'm not surprised at all that he got drafted this early. His dad was a legend at Denver. His brother's a legend in 49ers right now. So why wouldn't any team want a piece of that bloodline, right? So I'm going to go with, let's see here. I got some receivers here still. I don't know. I think I'm going to go to the running back room. Will Shipley here, going to the Philadelphia Eagles. Not the best landing spot. I'm a Philadelphia fan. I live in Philadelphia, so Saquon Barkley's here now, but I've always been very frustrated how the Eagles utilize the running backs. But we have a new, Kellen Moore is our new OC, so maybe things will be changing. I don't think Will Shipley's going to get a ton of run here for the Eagles, but again, he was a pass catching back. I think Kenneth Gainwell's stock is in the toilet. Will Shipley, hopefully they drafted him and with the idea of getting the ball in his hands 4, 5, 6 times a game, so and bring a different element. But this is where I can see Will Shipley coming off the board. The running backs are drying up pretty quick right now. So, all right, I'm going to go back to the wide receiver room here. Another receiver that I kind of liked a lot, and that is Jacob Cowing, getting drafted by the 49ers. Now, Jacob Cowing went to the combine and came in really smaller than we think, but all college players, if they're 6'1" on college, it means they're 6 foot or 5'11". That should be the rule for going forward. But Jacob Cowing is a route runner. He's a space creator, strong hands. I think he plays bigger than his size, and he's playing, again, the 49ers plucked him here in day 3. So, I don't know. I think, again, wide receiver room might be changing for the 49ers. So we'll have to see, what goes on. All right. I'm going to take a tight end here, I think, now. Ja'Tavion Sanders, not the most athletic guy, but going to a good landing spot. Tommy Tremble, I believe, is the only tight end really on that team. and he's not that very good when it comes to pass catching. So John Sanders is going to get an opportunity. If you need a tight end on your team, it wouldn't be the worst swing here, seeing him on the field, trying to, see if he can get his hands on the ball early and often. But again, with the tight end premium league, might be a little early for a tight end. But, again, just looking at the tight end board here, it's pretty slim pickings, man. So I think this is where I could see Jatavian Sanders coming off the board. So, all right, I'm going to go with he was a sleeper of mine, like I put out a day 3 sleeper show on this channel. And Ray Davis was a guy that, I felt, he's an older prospect. I think he was in the league, it's college for 5-6 years. But man, I'll tell you, I think for the size and great landing spot with the Bills. I mean, James Cook is the RB1 on that team, arguably. But Ray Davis might get some goal line work. They might, sprinkle him in. Big, physical, running back, but the landing spot's pretty good. And I think people are going to be, excited about that, anytime anyone goes to the Bills, right? I mean, it's something that people are going to get excited about. All right. So I'm going to take here to round out the third round. I'm going to take Jalen McMillan going to Tampa Bay. All right. So decent landing spot. You got Evans there, you got Godwin, but there could be some changes in the near future in that wide receiver room. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Jalen McMillan, obviously, is part of their plans. I mean, Godwin and I think his contract is coming up soon. And Evans, I think he signed a 1 or 2 year deal. But so, this might be a play where you're going to have to wait a little bit for production. But this is where I can see Jalen McMillan coming off the board. All right, we got one more round. We're going to kind of do rapid fire to keep this video a little short here. Okay, I'm going to go with Isaac Guerendo. All right, I guess that's how you say his last name. I'm very bad with names if you watch this YouTube channel. But again, San Francisco, all right, they're dipping in here in round 4. This guy has got he's thick, he's strong, he's got some speed. I think he replaces Elijah Mitchell, who is the RB2 on that depth chart behind Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey has been able to stay healthy, but man, if something were to happen to him, this is a guy that you should be grabbing in all your rookie drafts. I mean, he could certainly, maybe carve out a role. And I wouldn't be surprised, too, if they want to, reduce the workload of Christian McCaffrey and let Isaac here, get his hands on the ball. So really a surprising round 4 draft capital here for him. So this is where, it really gets thin. You're really, got to make some decisions here. I'm going to go with Braylon Allen. All right. Now, everyone, either you love Braylon Allen or you didn't. He was buried in my pre-draft ranks, and the landing spot's pretty terrible with the Jets. All right. You got Breece Hall there, obviously. Abanikanda fans from last year. I guess his value is now in the toilet. That's what happens in the running back room, guys. Happens every year. These players get just, replaced by other players. But if something were to happen to Breece Hall, I mean, Braylon Allen, they're looking maybe for, Breece Hall is this, the shiftier guy, and then they want someone to, a hammer going up the gut, for short yardage situations, goal line situations. Braylon Allen might be the role that they envision for him, and he might have some value, but the landing spot was pretty bad. I think people were hoping that maybe he went to the Cowboys or he went to the Chargers or something like that. So again, looking at the the board here is getting a little dicey. I'm going to take Spencer Rattler here. All right, I think this is where he probably is going to come off the board. He's going to sit behind Derek Carr. I had him, in my pre-ranks. I had him before Bo Nix and Michael Penix. So I like Spencer Rattler, and it might be a good situation. This kid's been humbled over the years. So we'll see where he goes, but he's going to, this is a future play. He's not going to get on the field anytime soon with Derek Carr there, but we've seen other things, crazier things happen, with Brock Purdy and stuff like that. So you just never know, but I could see him coming off the board here, with the 4th pick. All right. So I'm going to go back to the tight end room, and if there's a tight end that I'm kind of excited about, it's Eric All going to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he has the ability to get immediate production there. Gesicki, I believe, is there right now, and he's just been a fading, declining tight end for years. And man, I'll tell you what, I've seen Burrow, throw to the tight ends on several occasions when they had someone who can get open. Eric All might be a little underrated here, but again, if you need a tight end heading into your rookie drafts, this is a guy that you might want to seriously consider. All right. Next guy I'm going to go with is Audric Estime. All right, goes to Denver. Might be a little late. There might be some more people who were, a little bit more excited to get him earlier. Finds himself, behind Williams in a decent situation. So again, this is kind of like Braylon Allen. I think he's going to be the backup. He's going to just be a depth piece, but he could be used in short yardage situations and the goal line. But again, RB2s on teams, given that the injury history of running backs is always good, right? So if something were to happen to Williams, then you got Estime like waiting in the wing. So I can see, Audric Estime, he may have come off the board a little sooner, but nonetheless, we have him here. All right, I'm going to go with my next wide receiver, and I'm going to go with Aniyah Smith, all right? Now, he was drafted by my Philadelphia Eagles, all right? And I think that they have a plan for him. We desperately need a slot receiver in Philadelphia. And I think with the new rules, with the kickoff stuff, with the kickoff rules and everything, they probably got him to be a punt returner and a special teams player. But we need a slot receiver. And I like Aniyah Smith as far as his yards after the catch ability at Texas A&M. I mean, he was pretty solid. So, underrated player, didn't get any buzz pre-draft. But here we are now going to my Eagles, and I might be a homer pick. I'm not sure. But I think that they could target him and use him in the slot and maybe, get the ball in his hands around the line of scrimmage and do some damage. So I'm going to take a great landing spot. We were all wondering who was going to land with the Chargers, right? And I'm going to take Kamani Vidal here. All right. He goes, look, it's a 6th round draft pick. We can't get too excited, guys. I mean, really, day 3 running backs, really, the majority of them don't happen. There are the diamonds in the rough, like Pacheco. This guy might be one of those diamonds in the rough, all right? So they might this guy's got some explosion to his game. He's got some catching ability. The Chargers didn't draft anybody before him in the running back room, and it's pretty bare there. So I think Vidal, given the fact that they didn't draft another running back, that this guy might actually come off the board actually a little earlier. So no quarterbacks here. I'm not interested in Jordan Travis, Joe Milton. Again, I'm going to go with Devontae Walker here. He's a raw running back. But again, goes to Baltimore, not the best landing spot again, but he did show some explosion when he played at North Carolina this past season. But again, this is a player. This is the 4th round, guys. This is where you're taking depth guys that you're going to hope get the opportunity at some point to hit and play on your roster. But here we are. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the tight end room. I mean, Tip Ryman, going to the Cardinals. I'm not really interested in him with McBride there, but who has an opportunity? That's Theo Johnson. Okay. Theo Johnson, at the combine just tore it up with his athleticism, but it really didn't show in the field at Penn State. So we're going to see what happens. But again, there is a need. Darren Waller, I believe, is going to retire. He didn't pan out. They never should have traded for him. Las Vegas just, gave the Giants got smoked on that deal. But anyway, Theo Johnson could have the opportunity for some really good targets. Okay. I'm going to go back to the tight end room. This is a sleeper, guys. This is somebody you should not be leaving out of your drafts. He got round 7. He got round 4 draft capital. And that is Jared Wiley. And in fact, I might be a little late on Jared Wiley. Now, that landing spot is going to vault this dude up into, could be the 3rd round. Learn from Kelsey for a year or two. This guy is big. He's athletic. He's a little underrated. But again, who doesn't want the tight end who plays with Patrick Mahomes? So I might be a little late here taking him the 4th round. But, here we are. He might actually go later in the 3rd, especially if it's a tight end premium. You probably would have seen some of these tight ends going off the board in the 3rd round. All right, we got 2 more picks left. Looking at the running back room, nothing is really exciting me, but I'm going to take a running back here. I'm going to go with Rasheen Ali, okay, because the Baltimore Ravens landing spot is pretty good, all right? And we know that we love the running back room in Baltimore. They just never seem to stay healthy. But, they took a swing with him here in the 5th round, it looks like. So we'll see. Maybe that'll pan out. All right, one more pick. And I'm going to take a player who I was pretty excited about pre-draft, but he got round 6 draft capital. The landing spot is just okay. But I'm going to round this out, I think, with Malik Washington. All right. We were all discussing on my Slack chat. It was like, wow, man, Malik Washington. I thought my Eagles were going to take him maybe in round 4 or 5. I mean, he's undersized, but again, he's kind of like this player. You get the ball in his hands. He's super physical. He's small. He's like 5'8", but he's got a lot of mass to him. But again, Miami loves fast, speedy players, and it's a wide receiver room with Tyreek Hill and the name's escaping me, the guy from Alabama. But in any case, this might have to be a play, a wait and see play. But he might get some slot work. And Jalen Waddle, that was it. It's Thursday, it's Sunday morning, everybody. So I'm a little foggy here, still drinking my coffee. So there you guys got it, man. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Just want to let you know I did day 1, day 2, day 3 landing spot grade show on this YouTube channel too. So go check that out. And shortly I'm going to be digging right into the 2025 class. So we're going to be doing breakdowns. I'm going to be doing my my rankings of next year's class in about 2 or 3 weeks. So hit that subscribe button if you are a Dynasty player that wants to look to the future and see like early, what next year's rookies look like. This is the channel for you. I appreciate you watching. Have a great day and enjoy your rookie drafts. And my advice to everybody is always take who you want, your guys. Use ADP as a guide. Take the players that you want. Thanks for watching.